And I think that, addressing readers and writers, rather, who are at the beginning of their writing journey, is such a thing that a lot of authors who are further in their careers feel a lot of responsibility for, and telling the stories of how they got there. So I'd be curious to hear about, what was it that drove you to publish? And also, am I correct in thinking that you are fully self-published with this incredible 11-book series, and why you decided to go down that route as well? Give some perspective to people who may be curious about that.
The answer to the first question, it is a cultural biography of the English people. I am English by descent, and this is something that I wanted to really write about, the formation of Englishness. And the 9th century was such a key moment of survival. So that's something that had been intriguing to me since girlhood, because I'd been very much attracted to the artifacts of the Anglo-Saxon period, the Sutton Hoo treasure, all of the extraordinary swords and gems, the poetry. Everything had a lifelong attraction to me. My pathway to publication, and yes, I am an indie. I have my own imprint. I do not personally use the expression self-published because I do not do it myself. I have a fantastic team. I have a professional and wonderful cover designer and book designer. I have a fantastic narrator in Nano Nagel who does all of the audiobooks. I have proofreaders. I have a business manager, and so on and so forth. So I always prefer the term independent or indie to self-published, because none of us who are successful with our own imprints are doing it alone. We do have great teams. It came about simply because for 18 years, I tried to get book one picked up by publishers, and it was rejected 50 times. So I started to write book one in 1991. It's been a long journey. And even though at times I had very good literary agents, they were just unable to sell it. And so it sat fallow, even though I continued writing for my own sense of sanity that I needed to continue the story and get the main characters to a good point. So it was originally a trilogy. I wrote the second two books just for my own sake. And then eventually, it was the late 90s then, and then eventually the Kindle was the advent of the Kindle by Amazon. And so it was possible to self-publish a book. And so I just thought, I've got these 3 books. It was 2012. I said, why don't I format them for Kindle and put them out? And guess what? I did have an audience, quite a large one. So, I took the path to finding my audience the only way I could. The gatekeepers had persisted in keeping me out. And I said, I know that there's great value in this. I know that it's there. And I know that I know that there's people who want these books. And fortunately, I was right. So the first 3 books had a really tremendous reception, and that encouraged me to continue writing. So there's now 11, the latest having been just released a few days ago. So it's obviously it is. I'm always delighted when people go the traditional route, and if they feel supported by their publisher, that's marvelous. But for most of us, we may not find that as a pathway to publication. And certainly if you are interested in becoming a career novelist, if you're interested in having real income replacement from what you may have been doing before and making a living wage, having your own imprint, publishing yourself is a much surer path to that, unless you have some pretty extraordinary support from your publishing house. And that, of course, is simply because of the royalty structure is such that when if you own all the rights and you're publishing under your own imprint for an ebook, which is priced at $9.99, you get a 70% royalty. And if you're with a traditional publisher, you're usually going to get a 25% royalty. So it does not take many book sales for that to make an enormous difference in your ability to truly become a career novelist. So, and yes, you are taking on all the responsibility of every task. Although we must admit that these days, most people who are traditionally published have the onus of marketing on themselves anyway. That there's not a lot of publishing houses that are actually doing very much for a lot of their authors. So very often, even people who have a reasonable deal from a publishing house may be asked to do quite a bit of their own marketing anyway. But I would just say from my own path that although it was lengthy, I believed in my work. I felt that there was going to be an audience. The people in New York were wrong. I was right. And I do have a wonderful, loving community of readers now. Continue to find it. We're just so blessed to be living today as writers because there are so many paths to successful publication. There's so many paths to communicate with our readers. And there's a lot of people out there who are hybrid, that they both have their own imprints and they have, deals with traditional publishers as well. So there's a myriad pathways to publication now. And I think we all eventually, it's thrilling and wonderful if you can get good representation, which I did have a couple of times. But if, again, the door remains locked against you, build your own road to get to your audience.
Thanks for watching this clip from the History Quill podcast, all about writing and publishing historical fiction. If you want to find out more about the topics discussed, check the description for a link to the full episode and the episode page on our website, where you can access a range of relevant resources. You can also join our email list to receive new podcast episodes and more content for historical fiction writers. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and switch on notifications.